My little sister looked me dead in the eye on Christmas Eve and said, "It must be so lonely to be 35 and still all alone." My entire family burst out laughing. My dad laughed the loudest. What they didn't know, I hadn't come home for Christmas dinner. I came home because someone had forged my signature on a multi-million-dollar deal. And I had been married for 6 years. My name is Mia Bennett. I'm 35 years old. And I'm an acoustician. No, I don't make music. I design how sound moves. I make hospital rooms quiet enough for a baby to sleep in, concert halls perfect enough to make you cry. I designed the walls of the Chicago Children's Hospital. It was Christmas Eve, Ohio, snow outside, my family around the table, and Chloe, my younger sister, 29, perfect, married, marketing executive, smiles and says loud enough for everyone to hear, "Mia, it must be so lonely to be 35 and still single, right?" Silence. Then laughter. My father, Robert Bennett, the patriarch, the owner of Bennett Acoustics, throws his head back and laughs, like it's the funniest joke he's ever heard. My mother, Linda, gives that tight little smile, the one she always gives when Chloe is cruel. "Oh, Chloe is just joking, honey." They thought I came home because I was lonely, because I missed them. Wrong. I came home because 7 days earlier in my office in Chicago, a legal document landed on my desk, and on that document was my signature. Except I had never signed it. It was an intellectual property transfer agreement, dated 5 years ago, transferring all my designs to my father's company. Someone had faked my signature, and they were about to sell my life's work. Let me be clear who you're stealing from. I didn't inherit this talent. I started from a rented desk in a co-working space in Chicago with $400 in my bank account. Today, companies fly me across the country to fix their sound. Hospitals, universities, tech giants. I spent nights in workshops covered in sawdust. I failed 47 prototypes. That rented desk became a studio. That studio became a name. But to my family, none of that mattered. To them, I was still just Mia, the unmarried one, the one who chose playing with wood over having kids. My success was invisible. My single status was my identity. 3 days before Christmas, my phone rang. Dale. Dale is 62. He's been the technician at Bennett Acoustics since before I was born. He's the only one who ever taught me how to use a saw without losing a finger. He whispered, "Mia, your dad is about to sell the company, big investor, millions, and he's telling them he owns all the designs. Legally?" My father's pitch? All design rights are securely and legally transferred and held by the family. Legally. That word made my blood run cold. And who was helping him sell it? Chloe. She handled marketing. She was brilliant at one thing, spinning stories, making lies sound like legacy. She was the one emailing investors, the Bennett family designs. My father's favorite line, drilled into us since childhood. The Bennett name comes first. We all work for the name. Translation, you work, he takes the credit. And my mother, her job was to keep the peace, which really meant bury the truth. Sweep the ugly things under the rug until they rot. Don't make a scene, Mia. Don't upset your father. For 15 years, I had been silent. I took the jokes. I took the dismissal. I left Ohio and never looked back. But this time, forging my signature, stealing my work. No, this time, I was not going to stay silent. So when Chloe made that lonely joke, I didn't cry. I didn't leave. I put my wine glass down, very calmly. And I said, "Actually, Chloe, I'm not single. I've been married for 6 years." You could hear the snow falling outside. The fork stopped midair. My father froze. My mother stared like I had grown 2 heads. Complete, absolute silence. Then my father did not say congratulations. He slammed his hand on the table and shouted, "Why did you hide this from your family? What kind of daughter does that?" Not, "I'm happy for you." Not, "Who is he?" Accusation. My mother, tears in her eyes. "Mia, how could you keep such a big thing from us? We are your family." For 6 years. I looked at her and said the most honest thing I've ever said at that table. Because I didn't want to hand over my happiness to people who would make fun of it. I wanted to protect it from you. They had no idea who my husband was. And they had no idea that the marriage reveal was not even the real surprise. The real surprise was still in my bag. A photocopy of a forged document. His name is Adrian, I said. Adrian Laurent, he's away on business. That's why he's not here. They Googled him later that night. I know they did. They all thought the marriage was the big twist. Cute. No, the marriage was just the appetizer. The main course was the fraud sitting in my tote bag. I let them sit with the marriage news overnight. I wanted them to lose sleep. 11 years ago, Bennett Acoustics was dying. Bankrupt, my father had made bad investments. The factory was half empty. He was about to lay off Dale and everyone else. He called me, crying for the first time in my life. Mia, can you come look at the workshop? I was 24, just graduated, broke. I spent 3 weeks in that cold workshop. No heater, just wood, foam, and math. And I invented it, the chambered baffle design. A sound panel that absorbs low-frequency hum without making a room feel dead. It was revolutionary, cheap to make, incredible to hear. When I made the very first one, Panel 01, I was so proud I did something silly. I took a permanent marker, and on the inside of the wooden frame, where no one would ever see unless they took it apart, I wrote, MB, Let This Room Breathe, 2014. MB Mia Bennett. That one design saved everything. Orders exploded. Hospitals wanted it. Schools. We went from bankruptcy to back orders in 8 months. That design is Bennett Acoustics today. 80% of their revenue still comes from my chambered baffle. At first, my father said, my daughter designed this. Then it became, we designed this as a family. Then, by last year on their website, it was Robert Bennett's patented acoustic innovation. My name was erased. Completely. Next morning, December 26th. I drove to the Bennett Acoustics office, the shiny new building my design paid for. There were investors in suits, champagne, a big banner, the future of Bennett Acoustics. My father saw me and his smile tightened. I said calmly, I'd like to see the IP documents for the investor deal. Chloe stepped in like a bodyguard. Mia, this is a family business meeting. You haven't been here in years. You don't just walk in and demand documents. She was protecting the lie. Then she hissed, just loud enough for me to hear. You show up out of nowhere after years and try to sabotage Dad's retirement? Classic Mia. So jealous. Jealous. Of a company built on my work. I started to argue and my mother appeared out of nowhere, touching my arm. Honey, she's just joking. Chloe is just joking. Don't be so sensitive. Just joking. The family anthem to excuse cruelty. I didn't argue. I just texted Dale. 10 minutes later, Dale slipped me a manila envelope in the break room. I made a copy when I was told not to, he whispered. This isn't right. Inside was the IP transfer agreement, page 7. Signature line Mia Bennett, date April 12, 2019. The signature was close, but wrong. My M has a sharp peak. I lift my pen before the I. This forgery was one smooth, loopy motion. Someone who had only seen my signature on old birthday cards tried to copy it. I am an acoustician. I noticed patterns, sound waves, vibrations, strokes. I knew my own hand, and this was not my hand. And here's the beautiful part. April 12, 2019. I wasn't even in America. I was in Rotterdam, Netherlands, giving a keynote at the International Acoustics Conference. There are photos, flight records, hotel stamps, 200 witnesses. You can't sign a paper in Ohio when you're on stage in Europe. That evening, I helped my mother wash dishes. I kept it casual. Mom, Dad's deal. When did I sign that IP transfer? She didn't even look up, scrubbing a pan. Oh, your father handled all that paperwork for you, honey. You were so busy in Chicago, he didn't want to bother you. He said you'd want to help the family. She said it so innocently, like it was normal to forge your daughter's signature. I walked straight into my father's study. I put the document on his desk. Did you forge my signature? He didn't even flinch. No shame, no apology. He leaned back and said, I did what was necessary. It's not theft, Mia. Don't be dramatic. You built that design under my roof, with my tools, my wood. It belongs to the Bennett family. I was protecting the family asset. You would have said yes anyway. I was 24 living in his workshop because his company was failing, and he begged me for help. And then he said something that made my stomach drop. My father did the same to me. He put his name on my first good design. That's how family businesses work. We pass it down. One day, you'll do it to your own kid. A cycle of theft disguised as tradition. He thought he had won. He thought guilt would keep me quiet. He threatened me next, with my mother's retirement, with Dale's job. But he forgot one thing. I have proof that will destroy his entire deal. And I have a husband who could end this with one phone call. But I won't use him. Not like this. My father stood up, walked to the window, playing the martyr. If you stop this deal, Mia, do you know what happens? Dale loses his job. Your mother loses her retirement fund. Chloe loses her house. The factory closes. All those families. On the street. Because you want your name on a piece of wood? He weaponized my empathy against me. That night, 11 p.m., I couldn't sleep. I drove to the factory. I knew exactly where it was. Panel 01, the first one ever made. My father had mounted it on the wall in the lobby like a trophy. Where it all began. I took a screwdriver and I took it down. I flipped it over. My hands were shaking. Dust, cobwebs, and there, faded but clear, black marker on raw pine, MB. Let this room breathe, 2014. It was still there. After 11 years, my proof, my origin story. I called my husband Adrian in London. Adrian Laurent is not just a businessman. He's an investor who funds sustainable architecture. His fund is worth over $400 million. He could buy Bennett Acoustics before breakfast and not notice. He said, Mia, say the word. One call to their investors, I can flag the IP fraud and the deal dies tonight. Or I can buy the debt and you own them. And I almost said yes. God, I wanted to. But then I thought, if I use his power to crush my father, how am I any different from my father using his power to crush me? I wanted to win as Mia Bennett. Not as Mrs. Laurent, not with his money, with my truth. I called my lawyer in Chicago, Sarah. She said, Mia, this is clear fraud. That signature is void. Any contract built on it is void. If you notify the buyers in writing with evidence of forgery, they have to pull out or they assume liability. You have all the power, but you have to do it in writing before they sign. The next morning, the family was nice, terrifyingly nice. My mother made my favorite pancakes. Chloe said, Mia, your hair looks amazing, because Dale told them I had the documents. They were scared, and when they got scared, they got sweet. Chloe cornered me. So, this husband, Adrian Laurent, is he the Adrian Laurent? The one from Forbes? When I nodded, her face changed. No more mocking, pure calculation. Oh my God, Mia, we could be sisters-in-law and business partners. Imagine what your husband could do for us. At 2 p.m., my father called a family meeting. On the table was a new document. An updated IP transfer, dated today. Just sign this one, Mia. Then the old one doesn't matter. And then, maybe you can introduce us to Adrian? Help us close this deal for the family? It wasn't a request. It was a demand, wrapped in fake kindness. Sign the paper, bring your husband into the deal, and we all get rich. You get to be part of the family again. Everyone wins. I called Adrian on speaker. I wanted them to hear. Adrian, calm French accent, said, Robert, I have looked at the deal memo Dale sent Mia. Since my fund indirectly co-invested in the buyer's portfolio, I will recuse myself to avoid conflict of interest. I will not participate, and I advise you to listen to your daughter. She is right. My father went pale. His millionaire son-in-law was not going to save him. He was going to watch him sink. That night, I didn't sleep. I wrote a letter, not emotional, not angry, just facts, to the buyer's legal counsel and accounting team. Subject, disclosure of material IP ownership dispute, Bennett Acoustics. I attached my Rotterdam flight boarding pass, conference badge, hotel invoice, keynote photos, and a forensic comparison of my real signature versus the fake one. 5:47 a.m., my mother knocked, crying. Mia, please, he's your father. If this deal fails, we lose everything. I'm 62, where will we go? Please don't do this to your own family. It broke my heart, because I love her. Even after everything, I hugged her. And I said the line I had practiced all night. Mom, I forgive you. I forgive all of you. But forgiveness does not mean signing a contract. Forgiveness is not permission to keep stealing from me. 10 a.m. The final investor meeting. Glass conference room. Lawyers, accountants, my father in his best suit, Chloe with her PowerPoint. The accountant says, so to confirm IP chain of title, the designer, Mia Bennett, is present and confirms transfer. My father looks at me, pleading. I put my pen down. I did not pick it up. And I said, no, I do not confirm. That signature from 2019 is forged. I was in Rotterdam. Here is my evidence. I slid the envelope across the polished table to the lead investor's lawyer. Rotterdam proof, forgery analysis, my letter. The room went dead silent. The investors looked at my father like he was a stranger. Chloe started crying. My father just stared at the wall. The lead investor stood up. Mr. Bennett, we are terminating this transaction effective immediately due to material misrepresentation and potential fraud. We will be reporting this to our compliance team. The multi-million-dollar deal evaporated in 30 seconds. Bennett Acoustics didn't close. It shrank back to its real size. A small, honest family workshop. No longer a fake empire. A week later, I did one thing. I bought panel 01, legally. I paid my father $500 for it, fair market value for old wood. I brought it to my studio in Chicago, and I hung it upside down, so that when you walk into my studio, the first thing you see is my signature on the back. MB, let this room breathe. 2014. My clients ask about it. I tell them the story. So what is the lesson here? My father taught me that family first is often used by the people who exploit family the most. Love does not mean erasing yourself. Forgiveness does not mean signing away your rights. For years, I thought being a good daughter meant being quiet, small, forgiving the unforgivable. But true love, true family doesn't ask you to make yourself invisible so they can shine. If you have to forge someone's signature to keep them in the family business, you never had a family business, you had a theft. Your name matters, your work matters. Put your initials on the back of your work, even if no one sees it at first. One day, that hidden signature will save you. I forgave my family, but I kept my design, and I kept my peace. If this story hit you, you are not alone. Comment below MB, let it breathe if you've ever had to choose yourself over family guilt. And remember,